Happy Friday afternoon, everybody. I know that everyone right now is probably scrolling through Facebook or LinkedIn, distracting themselves for the next few hours until they can leave for the weekend, right? I'm just kidding. I bet you most people watching me are like hard working. You're going to see this later tonight when you're chilling after a hard day, or maybe both, right? Um, so I want to talk a little bit about something that just occurred to me as I was helping a client, right? So I'm helping this client, this guy I love, man. I've helped him way back in the day. I helped him with health and fitness. And then at one point, he gave me the beautiful privilege of working with his son just around certain like life skills. And now he is in a new leadership position. He went from being a private contractor to taking a leadership role in the company that was his main client. And he hired me to help him stay grounded, to stay confident, to develop and evolve his leadership in this new stage. Because there's a part of him that says, oh, I know they want me in this leadership role, but I'm not really a leader. I'm a doer. I'm the kind of guy who gets a lot done, and rather than delegates and leads and inspires. So we're doing the work, right? We're like 5 or 6 sessions into doing the work. He's about 2 months into this new role. And today we uncovered a reality that he's in this learning mode right now. He's really focused on going into the company, learning what's going on, getting a real deep connection with the important people he needs relationships with before he goes and starts to change a bunch of things, which is a great evolution for him. In the past, he's the kind of guy that feels like he needs to prove himself and he's changed things right away. So he's slowing down. He's moving back into more of a collaborative, co-creative, transformational leader rather than the dictator, right? We can talk about that later. Today I want to talk about the student or the scientist. And this is a mindset shift that I teach a lot of my clients. And I found myself lost in this experience this week. I found myself actually in student mode instead of scientist. So here's the story, right? So I'm actually working with a new coach on developing my business. And I'm working on going back to my core story of transformation, the time in my life where everything changed. And instead of telling the story about what I was doing, I'm trying to tell a story about what really needed to change and where I was going astray in the way I saw myself or the world. And so that it can be more relatable, right? And I hate doing this kind of stuff. In fact, a couple of years ago, I tried to stop telling my story so much, but people are inspired by my story. They love to hear it. So I wanted to figure out how to leverage it. So I made a commitment. I paid money. I joined a group program where I was going to learn to tell it in a new way. I'm going to learn to create content in a new way. And I want to be prepared to expand my business and to grow. I want the next level. So we're doing this process. And it's really hard work. It's making me ask questions I've never asked myself before. It's asking me to clarify these beliefs and clarify the vision, the way things looked in my life before versus what they look like now, and what that might look like in other people's lives. And it's just really hard. And it triggers me into all this old stuff about being a bad student and about not finding clarity and about not being focused enough when it comes to like sitting down and doing writing assignments. So anyway, I went through it and then I submitted it and I got all this feedback. It was actually good feedback, but there was just so much that had to change. And I just felt like, ugh, I'm not getting it. I'm going to screw this up. And before I know it, I'm really getting into this idea and this old way of being that's very core to who I was before I transformed and before I changed my life, which is I immediately get frustrated and I start looking for the right answer. And I start thinking that if I don't get this right, if I don't nail this, then I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. Someone's going to fail me. They're going to give me an F. I'm going to lose my business. I'm going to lose my life. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to gain all my weight back and I'm going to be a car salesman a year from now, which of course is absurd, but I find myself going to that place in my head. And in fact, it kept me procrastinating on this assignment for a little while before I got some coaching and I redirected my attention. What's up, Steve? How you doing, man? So anyway, what was happening is I was stuck in the student mindset. I was stuck in the student mindset. Now, the student mindset is when we think we have to get everything right. It's when we focus on learning. It's when we focus on more knowledge. What it sounds like is, well, I'll launch my business or I'll go for that promotion once I have the next certification. Or the student mindset looks like, hey, Joe, how do I say the right thing so that she won't be mad at me in this argument? Or the student mindset looks like, well, what exactly? What are the 12 steps that I have to do to make sure that I have a difficult conversation in the right way? Right? The student mindset has us buying more information, consuming more content, rather than actually creating change. So the shift that I talk to my clients about in session one all the time, and that I forget to do sometimes for myself, is to be the scientist. And not just any scientist, to be a good scientist. A good scientist can't get anything wrong. They don't fuck up an experiment because they had a wrong hypothesis. They actually need to be wrong. They need to fail. They need to make mistakes. They don't ask the question, do I have the right answer? They ask the question, let me see what happens. Let me see what happens. What can I learn by doing this new experiment? How can I take new information, get new data? How can I set up a new experiment based on what I learned from this experiment? They're focused on experiments rather than having to get things right. The student is looking to get an A on the paper, and so he's always looking for outside validation of his work. He's looking for someone to tell him he's right or wrong. He's totally afraid of taking risk because he might get an F. And that F might mean that he might not get into a college, and not getting into college might mean he might get the job. And then if he doesn't get the job, he doesn't get the woman or the life or whatever, right? He doesn't get the money. The scientist just simply asks, what's possible if I try this? What's possible if I try this? What can I learn if I try this? How can I grow if I try this? How can this just be an experiment or a project rather than some defining thing about who I am? So I had to challenge myself to shift back into this mindset. I decided myself that this thing I'm working on that's kicking my ass, it's simply a project. In fact, what if this whole group coaching program that I've invested heavily in is just a project for me to learn how to take on a new skill? What if it didn't have anything to do with the future of my business, the future of my life? And then once I made that shift, I was able to get back into action. I was able to get excited about doing the work. And in fact, now I'm much further along in the work, and I'm totally at a new place of seeing clarity about how I communicate my services, which is going to serve me for the rest of my life. And it's going to help me help more people in this world. It's going to help me live my mission to create a world of love and liberation through transformative relationship. So here's what I want you to do from this, right? So now what? What do we do with this information of the student or the scientist, the student or the scientist? What I want you to do is, if you catch yourself, if you find yourself thinking, if you find yourself acting in a way where you're trying to hedge yourself from taking risk, where you're looking for the right answer, where you're afraid to speak up in your relationship, or you're afraid to try something new in your job or your career, or you're wanting permission from others, I want you to simply ask yourself, wait a second, let me be the scientist. If I'm the scientist, what can I learn from this experiment? How can I grow if I try this? And what's possible if I take this risk? What's possible if I do this way? And how can this be me being a great growth-oriented person? How can this be me being a good scientist who will just learn and grow and transform from trying new things and potentially failing and not getting it right? Versus a student who's looking for the right answer and who thinks if he gets it wrong, he's going to fuck up, he's going to fail, and his life's over. So that's my challenge. Be the scientist. Let me know how this works for you. If this is something that you think can help someone in your life, please send it to them. And if you're digging on this, drop an emoji or comment, a GIF or something like that in the comments. I love you all for checking this out. Oh, what's up, Darren, man? You stopping by quite a bit. Oh, what's up, Steve? I didn't even read the comments. You're digging this right now, but need to head out. Okay. All right, man. Well, I'll talk to you later. Give me a call sometime, brother. Peace. For everybody listening, I love you. Have a happy weekend. It is a holiday weekend for some. Monday's a holiday. So peace. Talk to you soon.